Oh my goodness, am I really here with the Dr. Eric Roman? Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hey, Victoria. It is so great to be here with you. And my, oh my, we got some exciting stuff to talk about, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Hey, guys, we thought we would take a minute just to bring you behind the scenes. We are vigorously planning for the 20th anniversary productivity workshop in September in Frisco, and Eric is going to take the stage as part of our clinical calibration course for young doctors. Eric, tell us about the course that you're doing here at our program.
Victoria, what we're talking about is how young doctors, and honestly, doctors at any stage of their development, can calibrate their life to their professional career. Calibrating your life and your career, because one of the challenges I've had the joy over my journey. By the way, Victoria, I don't know that a lot of people know, I actually attended the PDA workshop before I started practicing dentistry. Like, I was still in residency at the time. And so my entire life has been productive, right?
I remember you couldn't even grow a beard back then.
Couldn't even grow it. No, I might've had like 2 little blonde facial hairs. How times have changed, right? And so, it had such a massive impact on me throughout my career in PDA. So what a really cool fitting way to hopefully channel some of that incredible career opportunity to the audience and the attendees. One of the things that I found in coaching and hiring well more than triple digits of associates and teaching clinical directors, we've got a really hard space inside of our profession right now with the plight of the employed dentist, the dental associate. And we have extraordinarily high turnover. We have ridiculously poor data. And what that really means is that our young doctors aren't getting what they wanted out of their career. And the second thing that I discovered is that financial success does not translate into people getting what they want out of their lives. And if we can't connect our financial success and our performance in doing good while we're doing good in our practices to getting what we want out of our incredible lives, my Victoria, like, why are we doing this in the first place? So I'm going to give all the attendees some really tactical strategies to be able to take back and put into their lives ASAP so that they're going to get what they want out of their dental career.
Oh man, I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for being a part of it. In September, this whole program, the first of its kind in the nation, because it's coming from PDA and we've never done this before, but it is a program specific to associate doctors. So if you're an owner and you're contemplating hiring an associate, or you've just hired an associate, your associate is stuck in their productivity at 200, 300, 400 an hour, something like 3,000 a day. We can boost that. We can accelerate that and quickly get your associates up to speed where they're producing like an owner. But more importantly, they've got life balance and they're grounded in their happiness in their career. Dr. David Port talks about that a lot, his research study and his doctorate degree, the value creation for doctors. And it really is about values alignment between the work I love and the life I'm building. And so, Eric, there is no one better in our industry, whether you're young or young at heart, that couldn't benefit from your one life system and making sure that your life path is aligned with your career path. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Victoria. I'm excited to see you and the team in September and can't wait to see who else is going to be joining us there. It's going to be an event that you don't want to miss. So here's your chance. Sign your butt up and get out there. We'll see you in Texas.
Doctor, are you living the dream or just dreaming of living? It is my honor to announce the PDA 20th Anniversary Special Conference this September 12th to the 14th in Frisco, Texas, the nation's leading course on dental practice growth. If you feel isolated as a leader who is frustrated that your schedule is unproductive, maybe your team is disjointed, or your systems are inefficient, this is the conference for you. The PDA 20th Anniversary Conference has all new features, including keynote speaker Emmitt Smith, who is a Pro Football Hall of Fame running back and entrepreneur. You can choose your own educational track to customize your learning experience. Go to www.productivedentist.com and click the pop-up, or select Productive Dentist Academy Conference under the Dental CE and Events tab. That's www.productivedentist.com. Seating is limited. Register today, and we look forward to helping you make your dreams become reality.
After the pandemic, it was really sad to feel that heavy weight on my shoulders, and that it was just the final straw to say, I just can't. If I'm going to provide the quality of care that I want for my patients, and to be able to spend the time I want to with my patients, because relationships in our practice are really important.
Welcome to the Everyday Practices Podcast. I'm Regan Robertson, and my co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson, and I are on a mission to share the stories of everyday dentists who generate extraordinary results using practical, proven methods you can take right into your own dental practice. If you're ready to elevate patient care and produce results that are anything but ordinary, buckle up and listen in. Doctor, do you ever peek over the fence and wonder what your life and practice could look like if you dropped PPOs? It's an enticing, sizzling subject. Chad is giving fist bumps today, but it can be a little bit scary. It is not without risk. And we have an extremely exciting firsthand account of what that looks like in today's podcast. Welcome to Everyday Practices Dental Podcast. I am your host, Regan Robertson, here with the wonderful Dr. Chad Johnson, who also just adores PPOs. He wears them like a proud vest every day.
I think they're great for other people.
Joining us today is Dr. Gwendolyn Buck from Northern Trails Dental Care out of Gwinn, Michigan. It's Gwen in Gwinn.
You got
it. With her is our PDA business advisor, Christine Uhen, who works with Dr. Buck. Welcome both to the show.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, guys. Good to be here.
Woohoo. Nice and early for you. Right.
For Gwen and Gwinn, I will always get up early.
I appreciate it, Chris. You're the best.
So, Dr. Buck, can you be our listeners' eyes and ears and tell us what type of dental practice you have and the type of patients that you love serving?
Absolutely. So I've been in practice 16 years, and I bought a practice straight out of my AEGD residency. And it was a small town practice. The town's got about 2,000 people. Zip code's got about 4,500 people. And then we're about 20 miles south of Marquette, Michigan, where that's got about 25,000 people in the area. So it's a great town in the woods. We do a lot of outdoor things, four-wheeling, snowmobiling, berry picking, kayaking.
You're a Youper.
Yeah, we're Yoopers. You got it. So really just great people in our community. Definitely small town. When that song comes on, we're smiling.
Are you originally from the area?
I'm sorry?
Are you originally from the area?
Yeah, that's where I'm from. So that's
Cool.
why I love to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, and I can't handle hot weather much. So the north is really good for me.
Yep. Last week, my family was in Isle Royale. So
yeah, I'd love to get up to Isle Royale someday, but I've got to bring a lot of mosquito repellent. So we'll see if I ever get there. It's got to be a tough place if you don't have protection against that. But
I got off of Amazon a net.
Yes. The net.
Did you get the hat with the net?
I have a hat and I wore the net over it. Yes, I did. I was full-fledged. Yes.
Absolutely.
I had that when I went to Texas.
Right?
Oh, yeah. We call them dad hats because, they kind of quintessentially look like a dad hat. So,
yeah, it doesn't make you look cooler, but you are more comfortable.
Nope, absolutely. I'm over cool, man. No thanks.
For sure. So my practice was really small town, and there was a military base that closed in 1994. So we had some retirees from the area, but just a lot of great, blue collar people. Jobs have always been a little bit tough in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So, that's just something that, we try our best to look for good employment. But we love the area so much. We love being rural. And so that's something that's worth it for our community.
That's cool.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to describe my practice. So we had,
Yes, please.
we moved from a small office of just a couple operatories that we built a building in 2011. And that's got 6 treatment rooms. We've got 2 hygiene rooms and 4 doctor rooms. So 2 hygienists. Right now we've got 3 assistants and 3 front desk. And yeah, it's just a great office right now. I moved from going 4 days a week to 3.5 days a week back in 2012. So I had an associate for about 3 years from 2012 to 2015. And that was a wonderful, wonderful relationship. And I've always dreamed of going out of network with Delta. So that was something that, I thought, what would that be like? One day I'll get the guts to do that. And I decided, okay, well, first I'll try an associate. So I did that first. And next time we got to that point in our business, I promised myself we would go out and network with Delta.
Good for you.
So what factors, Gwen, did you consider, and how did your PDA business advisor help you navigate these challenges? So it sounds like it's been a dream for over a decade. It's been a long-standing dream of yours.
I have always dreamed of that. In fact, it's hard to imagine a dentist who doesn't dream of going out of network with Delta. We love that our patients can have dental insurance and use it to help them.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to pay our team members the wages that they require in America today, with being under network with Delta. And if you want the kind of team that's always going in and out the door and you got to train new people, then, that's the way to go. But I didn't want that kind of team. And we really never had a high overhead, a high turnover until the pandemic. And we had definitely not the highest turnover of any dental office in the pandemic, but it was higher than I was used to. And I really didn't like that. So thank you, pandemic, for helping me be fed up.
That's right.
And I did actually hear of a dentist who, once they shut down, that's when they gave the letter to Delta. I don't know if that was a PDA client as well, but anyway, I was envious because that was the best idea ever. But it just took me some time, and of course that was hard on everybody in dentistry, and pretty much everybody in the world. But
Gwen, that was me.
The pandemic was hard.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that was Chad.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. I love it. I love that.
I sent off, like, we were closed for 9 weeks. And of course, at the time, you don't know it's going to be 9 weeks. But when we closed, we all had an office-wide meeting in our front reception area. And I said, we're going out of network. Just burn the ships. We're done. And I said, by the time we get our 30 days, which turns out it was 60 days, but at the time I remember saying, by the time our 30 days are over, we might still be in this closure kind of thing. Sure enough, even 60 days, we were still in the closure thing. And so when we opened back up, we had spent a few weeks fielding phone calls and addressing the matter and everything like that. And when we opened back up, we were fee for service.
That's awesome. Yeah. Kudos to you. I mean, that is great, Chad. I really admire you.
You as well. I think this is awesome. Keep going.
So, you can do it that way if you've got that kind of opportunity, which is amazing. What I did was, as I got fed up enough and I saw my team overhead raising so much and my Delta write-up being so incredibly high, we formulated a strategy, and Coach Chris was really instrumental in that and guiding my team through it. They say the ideal time frame is about 18 months, and I was not willing to do that. So I had a little over 6 months to go out.
I was not willing to do that. I like that.
Nope.
Right.
I could not talk her into that. That she was at that point and she was ready, but she also didn't just pull the plug.
Right, exactly. I mean, really, it was starting to affect my health, just the stress and trying to keep the whole world happy. So yeah, and I used to love my job so much that the thought of retirement just really wasn't even there. And after the pandemic, it was really sad to feel that heavy weight on my shoulders, and that It was just the final straw to say, I just can't. If I'm going to provide the quality of care that I want for my patients and to be able to spend the time I want to with my patients, because relationships in our practice are really important. If you imagine a small town dentistry, we see your parents and we see you and we see your kids and we see your siblings and we see your cousins. And I mean, we just, we're part of the community and we love it. And we love just hearing about people's lives and what they're up to and what's new. And we're not the type of office that's a impersonal. All right, what do you need done? Let's do it. Okay, bye.
Gwen, Chad and I were actually going over his, it was a new patient list in particular over the past few months. Chad can tell you a story about almost, if not all, like every patient.
Wow.
It was incredible. And that level of care. And then also I honor your bravery for respecting yourself and knowing where your limits are and telling yourself, I'm deserving a life that's different, not just for me, but also for my team as well.
Right. And they deserve to have that happy dentist back who's got that, energy and smile and, hey, we can get through this, tough day or this situation, we'll make it work. And and I'm seeing that again, which is just lovely.
So you set your goal timeline. You decided this is so productive of you. This is very PDA in my opinion, because to say, okay,
Told you.
Right, Chris, the book says 18 months. I'm going to do it in 6, but walk us through together how you prepared the team. What steps did you take? So you shortened that runway. And I know the spoiler alert is Chris has brought stats with us. So clearly this was a very successful move for you. What steps did you take for the doctors that are listening right now and they are starting to salivate and think, I deserve this too?
So we met in May with the goal of the following January 1st being our out of network date.
Okay.
And what the thing with Delta, I think this is nationwide. I don't think it's just in my state, but when you go out of network with Delta, they don't send the check to you anymore for the insurance payment. So they send the check to the patient. And if you want to continue to be able to pay your bills, you do have to ask for the patients to pay for their full portion at the time of their visit, and not trust that however much you love your patients and however much they love you, that they're going to run right to the post office with that check once they get it and drop everything and give it to you, because it's just not going to happen. So that was the big thing in terms of like, that's holding you back from like, oh gosh, I have to tell our patients they have to pay at the time of visit, which everybody calls that upfront. We try not to use the word upfront because you don't necessarily have to pay ahead of time. You just have to pay at the time of service. So some of it was the wording that we would talk with our team about. And, we really wanted to just look professional through it. And it was really neat to have my team's support too. Obviously my coach's support.
I want to kind of expound on one thing that you mentioned, but other people might not fully have caught it. After you do it, you realize that, but you said, okay, so the next time I was thinking, should I bring on an associate? Because you had an extra amount on an economics curve, you had an extra amount of supply, your patients, demand. And you were thinking, okay, what should I do about this extra demand? Should I meet it with more supply of personnel, or should I limit the amount of people coming in by letting them, decide for themselves, and naturally either 0% or 100% or somewhere in between of your insurance-based patients are going to say, hey, wait a minute, I don't like this, I'm out of here. And then the other percentage of people go, hey, wait a minute, I don't like this because it's different, but I have brand, what's the word for it?
Recognition.
Loyalty. Brand
loyalty.
recognition and brand loyalty, to where it's like, no, I value my brand loyalty to Dr. Gwen's office over my brand loyalty to Delta Dental. So I'm going to stay, even if this means that it costs me an extra $100 a year or an extra $10 a year or whatever. I'm sticking thick and thin through it. So you got rid of your demand problem by changing your supply curve with the, you know, going out of network and letting patients decide, which then allows for you to, you know, even if you do lose a certain percentage, and that percentage is always, everyone wishes they could know what that percentage is, but you can't unless you do it, because yours is going to be different than anyone else's. But then when you made that decision, so were you feeling kind of the pinch? You were like going to work going, man, we're booked out X weeks, and, you know, for cleanings, we're booked out this long for stuff. And I started, you know, like, is that what you were realizing? You were like, man, we're full.
That's exactly it.
Cool.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, definitely, you know, above capacity.
So
Wow.
the take home then is for the doctors that are going, wait a minute, I'm so full, but we should build an extra room. That's a possibility, you know, to meet it with that, or the other, or we should add another doctor. That's another possibility. There's all these possibilities, but on the table is to go, why don't you self-limit and get your best payers, the most brand loyal people to stay with you by declaring that you're, you know, no longer in network, and what, you know, all the proper verbiage for it, to do that. So you were feeling that pinch and you pulled the trigger, and the 6 months was, you could have waited 18 months, you could have, but you just decided to, you know, to do the 6 month and accelerate that, even at the cost of an ideal 18 months might help the landing runway, but you still wanted to land the plane in 6 months rather than on a runway glide path of 18 months, correct?
Yep. And that's right. You got the correct big picture of the business in that as well.
I did it. I knew it.
Yeah.
Christine is dying. Christine has got to say something.
I have
Do it,
got
Chris.
to get in here because, first of all, yes, this was, so a couple things. Dr. Buck is not giving herself enough credit to the amount of work that she put into this. But the truth is, this is a decision nobody should take lightly. This is there's a business impact related to, it's a risk reward conversation. So
That's right.
I would say, Gwen, wouldn't you say we talked about this for years
Yes.
before we did this? We
Yes.
were running the numbers. We were looking at patient base. It was a capacity issue. She had, and again, so thinking about those options on the table, she has a standalone practice that could not support adding another operatory. She works out of 3, if not 4 rooms. So even looking at, when we were looking at capacity and hygiene, could we add hygiene? It would have negatively impacted her personal productivity by taking 1 room away. Another option was, yes, let's expand vertically with hours, change that up, bring in another doctor, other hygienist, which probably would add more administrative support as well. So, but as we were doing that, I mean, we took months and months and months looking at all of these options. And the real decision was to go with removing ourselves and going out of network with Delta. Please do not say drop. So
Yes.
we don't drop anything. We are not saying we're not going to see you.
No, I'm just kidding.
But you still see them, Chad, right?
Yeah,
It's a different relationship.
Absolutely.
The second piece she downgraded was the amount of work she and her team put into this. Gwen's biggest motivation of doing this was, I'm not going to compromise my care, nor am I going to not reward my team. And it got to the point, as we were looking at the P&Ls, that she was going to have to do one or the other or both to stay profitable. And she said, no, just flat out, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that to my patients. I'm not doing that to my team. So yes, with a very deep inhalation of, we're going to do this, the time that she put into this, and it was actually 7 months because we had 2 cycles of hygiene.
Okay.
We had she started the conversation with, we're relationship based. These were one-on-one conversations with every patient that had Delta that went in. And we had team meetings every month. We had it before we started the conversation with the teams of this, and it was Gwen saying, guys, here's the reality of things. And that I don't want to compromise my care, nor do I want to reduce your compensation. I want to actually add into this.
Yeah, you have more, and I want to give you more. I just want to underline what you just said with such seriousness. One-on-one conversations. I sat in a dental practice that went out of network. Thank you also for the not dropped, but the out of network, because the languaging is critically important. You are so spot on. I sat in a waiting room and listened to multiple phone calls and one person at the very end of the visit who it was disgruntled patients saying, I had no idea. What do you mean you don't take my insurance anymore? And you could tell people were irate on the phone and in person. And I was floored. And the first thing I thought was, this practice needs PDA so bad, like, or at least some support. Like, did they think this through carefully? So I just wanted to slow that down and underline that for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the training was about with the team, that we talked through this. We had 5 or 6 questions that we knew patients would ask. Why are you doing this? Can I still come see you? How is the compensation going to change? Will I still be able to use my insurance here? Is there anything that you aren't going to be able to take care of for me now? And that was it was monthly coaching with the team, with Dr. Buck. She led that charge, but it was definitely team driven, down to the point that we literally physically had a little code that said DD, Delta Dental Conversation, DD1, the first conversation happened. And then when we came back around to the next 6 months, it was DD2 actually happened. We talked to them twice before the outbound letter then went. And that letter went before Delta's letter to the patients.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very prepared ahead of time to actually have this change happen.
Yep.
I'm going to pause our recording really quick. I will bring us back around. So Gwen, just to bring you up to speed, Christine kind of slowed it down for us right when you dropped off and was giving you credit and talking about how powerful your team was and how they had even coded it DD1 for dental insurance, like discussion 1 and discussion 2.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, so Chris, clap back in. Christine, you also brought some stats with us. Can you share with us the growth or the change, the transform that's happened? And then my part 2, Gwen, is for you. How has the patient experience or sentiment changed? So we'll do data first, emotion, and health second.
Whoa, because we know data plus emotion is where momentum happens. Yes.
Right.
So I will say, I'll use some generics, some general conversation that, again, looking at the Delta impact on her practice, it was over 50% of her patients that were on Delta Dental. She was averaging over 30% write-offs. So as we move, so for the whole office, so it was about at 24% adjustments from gross production to net production. So it was roughly $45,000 a month that she was writing off before we did this. So throughout the year of 2022, the conversations happened. So come 2023, this is a very interesting statistic. Her write-offs went from 24% to 7% total for the office. And here's the this was the celebration. Her gross production did not change. But because of the reduction in write-offs, her net production went up, $25,000 a month. So we did nothing different in service-wise.
And Gwen, how did that make you feel?
Oh, it was just, I felt like I could breathe. It's like, people rely on dentists so much and, they keep, asking for help and asking for help and asking for help. And, you want to say yes all the time, but there comes a limit when, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other things that changed. On average, she was getting 19 new patients a month in 2022. Think capacity now. To address your question earlier, Chad, she now in 23 is seeing 30 new patients a month.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah. So that happened in 2023.
Yeah.
Now her total patient base did drop. So let's not deny that.
Of course.
There was roughly, a 20% loss of patients. But go back to that gross production, the top line, she still did as much as she did the year before and took home more.
Well, because in that formula, Chris,
penalized.
the way I see it, and I might be wrong, but the way I see it is if your insurance write-off was more than 20%, then it's all a wash. And most people's, it is more than 20%.
You're right. So again, always a wash is where the risk reward question comes in. So, but I
Yes.
think your reward is more likely. The risk is reduced when you put the work in up front. So the
Mhm.
process paid off is the message here that I
Yes.
really want to say. And I will also just say in 2024, she is picking it. Second half of 23, we started doing a little bit more marketing, adding some more bigger cases. I'll let Dr. Buck talk about the service mix that she's adding in. She has the same amount of write-offs the first 6 months of this year. Her patient base is now growing over. We're now netting more at the 30, still 30 new patients a month. Her productivity per hour is up almost $200 an hour.
Wow.
So this wasn't a fluke. I guess that's also the message I want to say is it's sustainable. This business decision is impacting her on the second year afterwards, even better than the first year after we did this. So, and how many weeks did you take off so far this year, Dr. Buck, in the first 6 months of the year? Solo practitioner. Took off how many
1,
weeks?
2, 3. It's gonna be 6 full weeks plus, part of Thanksgiving, part of 4th of July, part of Christmas. So, you can call it 7.5 if you want to. It's lovely. It's about the limit of maybe a dentist should be away from their practice if they're the only one there.
But some of the things that
That
I even
production
think
per
of,
hour is what's making that. She's more productive
yes,
this year.
yes.
She'll do 2 million herself this year.
And if we ever calculated out not just production per hour, but collections per hour. So
She's at 100% collections.
well,
So-
right. Right. But see, sometimes like I used to think, man, I'm producing this per hour and I'd have to, but then after you factored in a write-off, the actual like collections per hour was more abysmal because of what Delta or any insurance company was
Right.
doing to that. So
Well, and again, we can look at that gross per hour and net per hour. We can
yes,
look at that. That's
yes,
important because the net's the money that actually is collectible. And
correct.
that's what pays the bills is what's
Yes.
collectible. So there's that other, learning piece of gross production is effort. That's how much effort and work you're putting in, right?
Well,
Net production is what's collectible after you've written off whatever
now
it
another
is.
intangible is when your facilities and your supplies are not being eaten up by the locust, that because of volume. So like if you're not doing 100 patient bibs per day, you're only doing 50, or your drill actually isn't, the handpiece is not getting so much torque and wear applied to it. Those kinds of things add up too. When your CEREC machine isn't doing 10 crowns a day, but it's it's only doing 4, but those 4 are making just as much money as the 10. You're not having to service your equipment as much, and your hands and like on the dentist's body aren't getting as much torture and stuff too. Like that all adds up. Gwen, how did that make you feel?
Oh, I'm definitely healthier.
Wow.
My muscles were worse, and of course, we're all another day older. So that's
Yes.
You just feel it more and more every day, and that's something that if I want to keep practicing, I really got to take care of myself. So yeah, that's true too.
Mhm.
That's definitely a factor. It's good all around. Just one of those decisions that you wish you had done sooner.
Victoria and I were talking about scheduling to productivity the other day, and she was talking about really the 2 different levels, the growth mindset where you're increasing the $300 an hour and where you're at in your career. And then she talked about once you get above your profitability incentive point, really the variable becoming time. And both of you, thank you. You just gave a really crystal clear definition of what that means. Time with your family, time to take off, but also very important spatial time for your own body as well. So being able to do higher quality, less quantity, perhaps, and what that means. Not even did you engineered it all the way down, Chad, to servicing the machine itself and the parts. I didn't even go that far in my brain.
Yeah.
So that
There's a lot
that
of
just adds
intangibles because I've
another-
not
yeah.
calculated it before, but there are intangibles that will add up over time.
Makes
So, but
sense.
Christine, you
Both
spoke.
tangible and intangible. Yeah.
You spoke about marketing a little bit. You said, I think it was end of 2023 or so, maybe Q4. You did some changes in marketing. How did your marketing message shift, and your strategy and your tactics to support this change?
So
We did-
we came up with another goal with Coach Chris and for our business. And as we were supporting that growth goal, we thought of what services can we let our patients know that we can provide. And even though I had placed implants in my residency, there wasn't really enough demand in my area that I felt that I could add that into my practice until I think about 2020. So since we were doing more implants and our patients were asking for them more, I wanted to just really let patients know how amazing overdentures can be, because of course, especially a lower denture is just a tough quality of life. And when you can snap that into bone and actually get something that can chew some corn on the cob, your life can really change daily. So that was one of the big things that we wanted to let our patients know. And really tried to focus on, several different areas of marketing, including, of course, social media, and me doing some, just some videos on it.
Oh, video. Very nice. That sounds nice and authentic. Christine, you look like you have something to add.
Well, I think too, just if the message of going out of network, we never really marketed that they took a lot of insurances. Right? That wasn't really a leading marketing message, but they also did invest in a membership plan. That is also another marketing opportunity where they have clear that's actually another way to help patients afford their dental work. So I think that's been an impact too, where we're helping people find a way to afford the dentistry they want to have done. And again, when you're out of that, well, my insurance doesn't cover it mindset, it's a whole different conversation.
Yes.
So I think that opened things up with the team as well when it came to presenting care. We have other options for them. So I think that made a big difference too. And that's a lot of people might not think of that as a marketing opportunity, and it really is.
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this. We'll see. We'll edit it out if I'm not. Well, I'm genuinely very curious. Did this change the way you treatment planned? And did it change the way you approached, your patients' health, their health plan in general, their total plan?
Well, I guess I wouldn't say it's a direct change, but an overall big picture change that goes with it, absolutely, is being more honest with a patient than if you were really looking at their insurance benefits. Because people tell us all the time, oh, I want to do what my insurance covers, or I want to do this, or this is so expensive. And, dentists try our best to make things work for patients. But what they really deserve, what our patients really deserve, is for us to tell them what they need, and then for them to figure out, okay, how do I make this work? How can my dental insurance help? How do we do this over time so that it works for me? And really, when you listen to what your patient wants and then focus on that, then we can create a great plan for their health, their smile, their function, whatever it happens to be.
I think that's another very powerful element to underline in your success. It gets back to relationship again. I asked that question because I've had two different instances where different doctors entirely have mentioned to me, almost in their own inner dialogue when I'm in the room, I could test her for this. Insurance isn't going to cover this. I could do this procedure. Insurance isn't going to cover it. And I had two different realizations in those moments where I thought to myself, Gwen, am I being limited in I want what's best for my health. I don't want you having to truncate or change your treatment plan based off of what insurance would cover. And picture me as a very ignorant patient, even though I'm at PDA, but picture me as medically ignorant when it comes to insurance. So I had this kind of sort of like dawning moment or aha moment where I thought, how is this affecting, how clinicians are presenting treatment to me? And I thought that was really fascinating. So thank you for answering that. I was genuinely curious.
Well, now that you bring that up, I think you're right that I did change my recommendations and have more freedom to, because you kind of don't feel that those constraints. If a patient's insurance company doesn't cover what the procedure was, they can't come back and yell at us as much as if, we had to tell them, hey, your insurance doesn't pay as much. It's like, no, the check went to them, then, it's just what their insurance contract was willing to cover.
Yeah.
It's not as though we have no disregard for that whatsoever, but I do not have those chains as much. You're absolutely right.
Dr. Gwinn, tell me if this resonates. In my practice, after going out of network, becoming 100% fee for service and dropping the last contract, there would be times when, for example, I was crowning number 19. And if I saw mesial caries on 18, I would tell the patient, hey, here's the deal. I saw some hidden caries right there. And this actually is another intangible in that it makes me feel good to do this. I'll just say, so here's the deal. I went ahead and I did that cavity right here because I can do it direct. It's almost like cheating that I don't have to drill from the top of the tooth down. So I took care of that real quick. Now you might be thinking, Dr. Chad, you're just trying to find extra work to charge me more. Here's the deal. I didn't even charge you for it. I just wanted to do that because now is the best time to take care of that. And I don't want to go back later and have to, have you miss work again, renumb you, drill from the top and make it bigger. So, but I wanted you to know, that I want to take care of that. Sometimes I'll tell them before the fact, after the fact. It kind of depends on how comfortable I am with the person. But I'll just be like, I don't want you to think that this is me, trying to find extra work. It's really not. One way of looking at it is I'm actually trying to be lazy and just do it right now, the first time the right way, rather than later, so it's an efficiency factor. Two sides of the same coin, right? Lazy and efficient. And have you ever found that you'll do something like, because here's the deal. Like, for example, this sounds, but let's get down to brass tacks. I'm charging twice what, the in-network is allowing. So I put a stupid little filling in right next to it and it took me an extra 4 minutes and it cost me, $20 worth of material. And I gave it to him for free. It's just like free, quote unquote. You get what I'm saying, Dr. Gwinn? Have you ever found yourself kind of, offering something because you actually have margin now?
Oh yeah, there's way more freedom in that, not like we're, trying to give everything away, of course, but you're right in that right situation when you can really just, do
the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. And it all comes, I just keep thinking about, chains on my wrists, versus not having the chains on my wrists.
That's right.
It's really that freedom.
Were there any challenges or surprises along this journey? It sounds to me like the preparedness was so strong that you may have handled any objections before they became objections, or was there any sort of little hiccups that you experienced that surprised you?
Oh, I think we did expect people to go to leave our practice. And I think especially with families with children, that tends to be something that parents, of course, it's very, very expensive to raise children. So, that was one of the segments of the of patient demographic that we lost more of was kids. But yeah, we expected them to go. We expected some of them to come back too. And they definitely have. And that's, we always said, you're going to be welcome back with a smile. If you do, if you go somewhere else and you do want to come back here, we always let all our patients know that. And so our front desk team was just great at that. I think for me, it wasn't necessarily a patient thing that was a surprise. But I made a couple decisions that weren't great business-wise that were not my coach's idea. She's
such a good
she's got great business ideas. I don't necessarily always, but when I announced the going out of network with Delta, I offered a cost of living raise for my team. And that really shot me in the foot. I really wanted to just do that for them because it was an emotional thing. I was like, well, it's hard on you. I want to do this. Life's expensive for everybody. I learned after that, you really, really should never, ever, 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 ever do that in a business. If I was ever going to do that, what you need to do is tell every employee individually, secretly, that they're getting a little raise. because when it's the cost of living raise, they didn't appreciate it, I don't think, as much. And then they still wanted a raise. Well, when's the last time I got a raise? Well, it was a few months ago, and I want a raise now a few months from now. It's like, no, everybody got that raise. Like, this is more expensive every single hour now. So I will never do that again. And I do recommend that no dentist ever gives a cost of living raise. If you're going to ever give something that really is that, like I said, give it secretly and let them appreciate it as an individual, not as a group. Secondly, I raised their health stipend, and I told them I was going to raise their health stipend the day we went on a network with Delta. We were going to do that. And it really should have been not in advance. It should have been like, okay, now once we start to see in our collections that we're growing, I'm going to look at what I can do for you. So I think and that's just part of my nature is I love my team and I want to take the best care of them I can. But I did get myself in a situation where the team overhead was really unreasonable. And that's one of the reasons why we had our most recent growth goal with my coach. And so we're addressing that now. And my team's still doing great. And of course, they're already highly compensated. So that's good too.
That's phenomenal. And what's nice about it too is you have support. I know Victoria Peterson says, and I say it often on this podcast, success requires support. And nobody's perfect. And I love that your mistakes were definitely heart driven also, it was
100%. Yeah.
So Christine, you're there, supporting alongside Dr. Gwinn. So you mentioned a growth goal in relation. So this is also what I find very normal about highly successful entrepreneurs, dentists it's never just this reach the pinnacle of success and then it's smooth sailing from there. I always find that the challenges, they keep coming. And that's why support is so awesome to have around you. So Chris, if I heard correctly, you helped Dr. Gwinn reset and say, okay, now we've got this overhead to tackle and we're going to create new goals around that.
Yes. And again, it's been right sizing itself, certainly, as things were collecting more after going out of network. But really what we did is we followed our PDA objective of creating a mission statement with a timeline and a financial goal to it. And in addition to that, though, the team went through the entire BMS exercise, Business Made Simple exercise of not just Gwinn creating the mission statement and identifying the key characteristics of who the team is going to be. And then the team got involved in, so what are my actions to demonstrate those key characteristics? And myself and Jody Boney were working with the team on getting their commitment to the critical actions that will then show the patient how, knowledgeable and experienced and compassionate they are in order to reach the financial goal. This team embraced that. And again, with Gwynn's leadership, they've had team meetings about it. They help develop the actions. They're holding each other accountable to the actions. She is currently on a 15% growth goal for it's a 12-month period that ends in October. And she's on track for it.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the team overhead is definitely right sizing itself. So
absolutely.
But Gwinn, I'm going to share what you said to me the other day. I've never had such a great team. She's never felt as connected with them. They're working together as a group, and it's showing in the patient care that they're providing, which happens to have a dollar value attached to it.
You got it.
So they're taking great care of patients, they're taking great care of each other, and they're being productive and profitable while they're doing it.
Thank you so much. This is going to bring incredible value to all of our listeners. Dr. Gwinn, would you ever go back? Would you go back to PPOs again?
No way. If I had a time machine, I would go back to the very beginning of my career and tell myself, do it sooner.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Dr. Gwinn.
Yes, thank you.
It has been incredible.
Thanks, Regan.
Great to be here.
And if you're a curious listener about how Dr. Gwinn has discovered her journey and discovered PDA, you can always join us at our 20th anniversary conference this September 12th to the 14th in Frisco, Texas, which Chad likes to point out is in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
That's right.
So there's lots of fun extra things to do as well. It is going to have the PDA Hall of Fame celebration, special guest speakers like Emmitt Smith, the Pro Football Hall of Famer and successful entrepreneurial individual. I think he was on Dancing with the Stars also. I think he won
You're
that.
right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yes. So it's going to be amazing. Go to productivedentist.com and register. We're almost sold out, but we've got some seats left. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening to another episode of Everyday Practices Podcast. Chad and I are here every week thanks to our community of listeners just like you, and we'd love your help. It would mean the world if you can help spread the word by sharing this episode with a fellow dentist and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Do you have an extraordinary story you'd like to share or feedback on how we can make this podcast even more awesome? Drop us an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts from Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentist.com/podcasts. See you next week.